My name is Andrew Stotson. I want to talk to you about safeguarding your business from the upcoming recession. Today, I'm going to talk about asset utilization as one of the measures that we should be following to make sure that you're prepared for an upcoming recession. Now, you may say, Andrew, what recession are you talking about? Well, it's my prediction at this point that by fourth quarter of this year, 2023, the US is going to be in recession. And I have a series of 5 indicators that I've been looking at that I'll show you in just a second. But I would argue that if a recession happens, it will be a global recession, and that will affect everybody. And if I'm right, and we do have a global recession, you're going to hope that you prepared your business for that. And therefore, I want to talk as much as I can about how to prepare your business for the upcoming recession. So let's go through a little bit about looks like my computer crashed, but amazingly, I'm back. So let's get into this and understand what I'm talking about. All right. So I see 5 warning signs of an impending recession. And the first one is the inverted yield curve. The second is peak employment. The third is a slowdown in bank lending. And the fourth is leading indicators falling. And the fifth is the weakening consumer. There are other counterpoints to these, but at this point with my research, these are the 5 signs that have got me the most concerned about a recession. So my point is be prepared. Geez, seems like I'm wearing almost the same outfit. Yes, because I do wear pretty much the same thing. Now, there's 4 things to focus on to recession-proof your business. What are those things? First, assets. Second, profit. Third, revenue. Whoops. Seems like I got trouble with my computer. Third is revenue, and fourth is cash. So the first company is the first question is your company prepared for a recession? So here's the method that I use as an investor and a business owner to measure a company's competitive position. It's called the world-class benchmarking scorecard that I've developed over the past 10 years. And I'll just walk through some of the points of it. First, I gather the yearly and quarterly financial data of 26,000 companies worldwide. And then I calculate each company's profitable growth score, which is a composite measure of both profitability and growth. And after that, we rank the subject company relative to sector peers of a similar size. The decile ranking is 1 to 10, 1, of course, being best. If a company is 1 or 2, it's financially world-class and it is prepared for a recession. And I assess the performance over the prior 4 years and the past 12 months. So the question is assets. Let's look at that. First, I made this chart trying to understand what's been happening with revenue to assets, to understand how much revenue that companies are generating relative to the asset they have in place. The end result of this is we can see that to being prepared for a recession, you want to try to have your asset utilization above 1%. If you're above 1%, you're slightly above average. Of course, if you can get higher than that, fantastic. It's a great preparation. So let's look at a sample company in my scorecard. There's a lot to this scorecard, but I'm going to keep it simple and say, let's look at assets, expenses, and revenue. Those are the three things that I try to measure and understand. And most importantly, I measure those things relative to global peers. So let's look at a company here. This company is called Konkan Sugar. It's a company listed in the Thai stock market. It's had a 12% decrease in sugar sales volume in third quarter, has not been offset by a 3% rise in sales price. And also, they've got revenue from the sale of electricity coming. Also, that's actually done relatively well. But here is the problem with this company. It's asset efficiency. When I compare it against 440 medium-sized consumer staples companies, this company, KSL, is just getting very little revenue for assets. Now, sometimes a company's just pure asset heavy and it's hard to get it. But remember, I'm comparing against consumer staple companies of roughly the same size. So if I was to work on this particular company to help them to get ready for the recession, it would be about dealing with the massive amount of assets that they have. Let's look at another company, SJWD. Previously, it was called JWD, and it's now been acquired by SCG Logistics. And basically, this company is interesting. This is before the merger that happened, and this shows the asset efficiency was really weak. They have a lot of assets, but they're not getting enough revenue. So hopefully, the merger can solve that. That's when I compare the company against 1,010 medium-sized consumer staple companies. I'll be interested to see how the scorecard looks after the merger. Here's another company in Thailand. It's called Jmart, and it's in the infotech space, and I compare it against 820 medium-sized infotech companies. Now, there's many different angles to this company besides just infotech. But what you can see is that the ranking on asset efficiency in 2018 was 7, and then it got worse to 8, and then it got worse to 9, and then it got worse to 10. Now, in some cases, expanding your assets, if you're getting a higher and higher net profit out of them, makes sense. But in this case, this company, I would argue, is not prepared for a recession downturn. And here's another company, Gulf Energy Development Company. It's basically a gas-fired power business. And expense control is good. Revenue has been good. So actually, the company's in pretty good shape, but its one weakness is asset efficiency when compared against 300 large utility companies worldwide. When I compare it against that, the ranking is quite low. Now, this is a cautionary tale also for companies that are moving into ESG promoted type activities. What's happening in that type of a situation, if they're being pushed into those areas, is that they are going into what could potentially be low profitability areas. And so I think you want to be careful with what you're doing there. Now, to wrap up the discussion on assets, if you think your problem of your company is you have too many assets and you're not generating enough revenue from them, first, it could be that you're giving too long of credit terms to customers. You've got to think about pulling that back or also using factoring. Another is getting too short credit terms from your suppliers. And another one is holding too much inventory. Another one is overinvesting in fixed assets. In fact, one of the companies up above has a huge amount of goodwill on their balance sheet, which was because they made a huge purchase of a company at a very high price. And then there's just low asset efficiency. You're just not getting much out of these assets. And finally, there's a poor asset management system where you may not have complete control and understanding of what assets are in your business and what they're generating. So to recession-proof your business in relation to assets, keep your asset turnover ratio above 1 time. Is your company prepared for a recession? Well, take our 4-point assessment. Just message me and I'll score your company and let's see how prepared you are for a recession. That is a challenge of a lifetime. My name is Andrew Stotz, and I want to thank you for listening and viewing. And my hope for everybody who follows me and listens to what I say is that we are all prepared for a potential upcoming recession. If I'm wrong, well, what's the worst case? You've tightened up your business. If I'm right and you prepared now, you could use this as a very strong way to gain a competitive advantage. Feel free to ask any questions. Send me a message if you want to get a score.